The couple went to like 31 states and she started grouping them in places she would like to return. She talked about Michigan, said she spent a month around the lake at Lake Michigan. So that's pretty cool. That's a long time. I had a chance to live in Michigan twice. 2 times I lived in Saginaw and I lived over on the Grand Rapids side in a place called Hudsonville. Michigan's the only beach vacation where you'll get sunburnt, but you'll still need a hoodie come 4 o'clock. I know. I've spent a couple of summers of my life, probably about 5, in the state of Michigan. And you don't get really summer like you would consider summer. So a lot of places that you live, you know, I'm making this up, but May 15th, it's going to probably be warm, and it's going to stay that way till October. And on October 20th, it's probably going to begin to get cool. You kind of can figure that out. Michigan doesn't really work like that because it's not uncommon to see snow in June. Also not uncommon to have April, a week or so in April, where you're like, ooh, we're in the nice upper 70s to 80s. It's feeling good. But then you get bit by no, not more snow. Yeah, middle of June, you'll still see snow flurries coming down. It is an odd place. In fact, I was working at a radio station there, a radio company, and we had a van, and the van had a working AC unit, which was odd in Saginaw, Michigan. Why do you need a working AC unit for the 4 warm days you get? The van was a 1988 model. I wouldn't have cared about us having the working AC, except that it came at the expense of the heater. So you have one or the other. So I asked them, why would we have made the choice to have the AC? And their answer was, because you really never need the heat here in Michigan, but we need the AC a lot. I was like, I don't know what kind of twilight zone I've entered into here, but let me tell you what's going to happen. I sent that truck right over to the mechanic and immediately took the AC unit, shut that off. We had heat. We had no more AC. You don't need that much AC. I lived in the Saginaw side, and in one of my runs, I lived in Saginaw, and on that side of the state, I'll never forget it, one day we hit 89 degrees. Now, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. That doesn't scare me. That's not even a good beginning. I live in Phoenix. Again, not even a good beginning. At 89, probably the most comfortable you're going to get in the city of Phoenix is 89 degrees. That's super nice. Really nice. Summertime when you're 115, well, that's not as nice. That's not how it goes. So heat does not bother me. Bothers them. I'll never forget, I was talking to the lady on air. We were talking about something, and I said, when your kids get home from school, what are you going to do? I said, are they going to be outside playing? She said, not in this heat. Kids aren't going to be outside today. They're going to be inside. This is unsafe. And I cried laughing. 89 degrees is nowhere near unsafe. But it's interesting how we live in the temperature ranges that we do. So for Michiganders, it's nothing to be 10 to 20 below zero and then see your high temperatures climb up to 80 or 90. And they're living in a world where that is 100% fine, but it's rare. They'll get a few days that'll peak in the outside and we'll have some outliers, but it's an interesting climate, and it's interesting the way they look at heat. But like I was talking to my mother, she lives in North Carolina, and they'll get a good warm run, and she'll say, what's nothing like the heat you have? Well, it really is, because it's all relative. Their overnight lows will be a lot lower than mine. I'm not going to see nights that are in the freezing temperatures usually. Usually I'm going to be somewhere around 40. When it gets really cold, 36, 37, we have no real moisture in the air, so it's going to be super dry. And those are chilly times. Because, again, if your summertime temperatures bounce up to 110, 115 like they do here, when they drop down to 60, that's incredibly cool. Same way wherever it is on your end. It's a huge drop. So, again, it's all relative. Now, the other thing that happens on that side of the state is because of the lakes and such, they don't get a lot of sun. They get very little sun. Like days and days and days go by where they don't get sun. Weeks sometimes go by where they don't get measurable sun. They're socked into a cloud cover, at least over in that Saginaw area, and they very rarely get minutes of sunshine. And you wouldn't measure sunshine in a day typically. Typically, if you get a break in the clouds, you'll get a minute or two, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, sometimes longer periods, obviously. But for the most part, it's pretty quick, and we're back to kind of a cloudy sort of feeling. It feels a lot like Seattle looks. I guess that's kind of weird. It's not going to get the rain Seattle's going to get, but it's going to stay very cloudy and socked in most of the time. Now, the other thing that'll happen in Michigan in that part is you'll get all 4 seasons within a couple hours. I've seen it be sunny and nice, go to snowing. I mean, it can go through 4 seasons in just a few minutes. We always say in Michigan, if you don't like the weather, give it 5 minutes. It'll change. I moved to a place called Hudsonville. Grand Rapids is an interesting place in that the sidewalks are heated, so you don't have to worry about that when it snows. It's pretty cold over there. I had an all-wheel drive vehicle. I was fine. They keep the roads really nicely taken care of. They're really sharp over there. Hudsonville, and I grew up in the South, so a little bit of snow's a big deal. It's not to them. Hudsonville is an interesting place. It smells like you're living in a salad bowl because they're harvesting everything. I mean, every single thing. The entire salad is happening right there. Everything. So when you come home in the spring, it smells so good. For some reason, you have an urge to put some ranch dressing on something pretty much every day. Now, I'll tell you something else I learned if you move out to Michigan. If you buy a home out in Michigan, it ain't like it is in the Southeast. It's not a good idea to get that big corner lot. How am I going to know that? I'm not. So I got there and I bought a house. And what I found out is when you got that big fat corner lot, you're responsible for all the sidewalks if there happens to be a bus stop there. And guess where the bus goes? On the corner, on your lot. So you got to clean the sidewalks. And I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about that. One day I was standing in the kitchen and this kid got off the bus. A bunch of kids got off the bus. But the littlest one come off at the end, and the poor kid disappeared. All was left was like his hat. It looked like something out of a movie. And I was like, it's like that boy disappeared in that snow. That's when I realized, I've got to take care of that. You can pay someone to do it, or you can do it yourself. Well, I did it myself. And I'm going to tell you, on that corner lot, I had seemingly 12 to 38 miles of sidewalk I had to shovel. Did I have a snow shovel, one of the machines? No, I didn't. So I did it all by hand. Outside, standing in 38 feet of snow, sweating like Fat Elvis. It was no good. She went on in the article to say how much she liked some of the things she saw in Michigan. There are a lot of wineries. The tulip farms are pretty sick. The beaches are kind of interesting. You got to watch that water over there. You go jumping in one of the Great Lakes, and what you're going to find is buoyancy is not something it's involved in. It's not like jumping in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, you jump in and you bounce to the top super fast. In the lakes, the Great Lakes, you jump in and you keep going and going. Like there's no reason for you to go back to the top. The water ain't going to help you. I jumped off with a life jacket on because that's what smart people do out in Lake Michigan, because the water, when you hit it, is colder than you think it is. And then when you're just like sitting and you're treading water, the life jacket is trying to leave. Like it is pulling you under the water. One of the craziest jumps I did was off a boat. I've been riding some skis. Off the boat I went, and I went down and didn't realize that you just keep going. Like you're not coming back up. I was not ready for that experience. The dunes over there are kind of sick. Boardwalks, seafood, a lot of stuff going on. It's cheaper than if you go to a beach destination. It's not as warm either. She says the lady who wrote the article, along with her husband, wants to go back to Traverse City, Sleeping Bear Dunes, Mackinac Island. She noted that they had no cars and they allowed no cars. And I wanted to say, lady, any place that openly screams, we're not going to have any cars here, is just admitting we have no one that can pass a driver's test here. You're lucky they're on bicycles. Nobody'd be alive in that place. They can't drive. Now, I was looking at some of the other states. She talked about how she wanted to go back and see. Vermont was on there. She talked about the picturesque. Nope, that's not what she talked about at all. The picturesque small towns. The lady needs to clean her language up. I tell you that. I'm not going to follow her. The gondola rides up Mount Mansfield, the Von Trapp family, or the Von Trapp Brewery connection. Von Trapp family. Raindrops on roses and so. Come on now. She talks about how she loved the Ben and Jerry's factory tour and the Flavor Graveyard. That sounds appealing. And if you think about it, as I looked at it, cheese, maple syrup, that's basically the whole state. And people going, yeah, I think we should stay another night. That's pretty much everything that's in Vermont, right? I mean, Vermont looks like a postcard because nobody there's ever been in a hurry. I watched A Newhart. I know. I understand Vermont. I know Larry and his brother Daryl and his other brother Daryl. I was here. She said she went through South Dakota. Loved South Dakota. Amen, sister. That's one of the nicest places and coolest places I've ever driven. Spent some time in that state. And you go in thinking, well, it's really just Mount Rushmore. And then you look over and there's a bison licking your car. So there's a lot of things that you take for granted. The Badlands are absolutely one of the coolest places I've ever driven. I'll tell you what I did when I was over there. I had rented a Jeep, four-wheel drive, obviously. So I bounced myself off the road in the Badlands and just started seeing what I could see. Next thing you know, I was about 1,200 feet above where I started, and I could look over and see it was just straight down from there. The photography is amazing. But I'm going to tell you something else. At the top of those mountains, there's wildlife. It's not the wildlife you hope it is either. Because I tell you what I was going to do. I was going to be just hillbilly me. Pulled up to the top of the mountain, got myself out a little food. I wasn't trying to bother nobody. I had me a picnic, had me some water and stuff, and I was just going to hang out up there, had my guitar. I was going to play a little bit. Then animals started showing up. Next thing I know, I was in the middle of the Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, fearing for my life. There was foxes and goats, and mountain goats, and things that looked like dogs, but they had a horn or something. I was scared, so I got back in the truck. Now listen to the music. I didn't bother nobody. I was quiet. I don't like having lunch around coyotes. It just seems weird. Speaking of, they were talking about Custer State Park and the wildlife where you get the bison, the goats, the sheep, and the coyotes. South Dakota's the only place where the wildlife outnumber the voters. So you got to take that into account. There's some museums there, roadside attractions, dead woods over there, the mammoth site with over 60 skeletons. It's really a cool place if you get to travel it. Do that in a car and a four-wheel drive. You'll really enjoy it. I didn't need the four-wheel drive but a couple of places, but when I needed it at that particular time because it had just rained, I needed it. So one of the places she said she drove through but didn't think she would be going back was West Virginia. And I don't know if you spent any time around West Virginia. It's a really pretty place for hiking and stuff. You got those sandstone falls and the New River Gorge Bridge over there. Lots of cultural areas. It really is gorgeous, but after 2 days, you start asking the mountains stuff like, do y'all know where Target is? She said one of the reasons she didn't want to go back was because the small towns felt like they were for locals and not really for tourists. Yeah, nobody wants you in their business, lady. Beat it. That's what she told you. That ain't how West Virginia works. They're all like, oh, come here. Virginia's for lovers. West Virginia's for get the hell on. We don't need you here. This ain't no tourism state. If you want to go to Charleston, go to South Carolina, not West Virginia. We don't want you. Tell you something else that's good for over there is outdoor stuff, hiking, all of that. Now, if you're not an outdoor enthusiast, it's okay. You'll have a good time too, because your sport can be watching your phone search for a signal. It's a good time. They ain't gonna find one, not often. Talked about Idaho. She's like, I drove through it. I'm probably not gonna go back. The great thing about Idaho that I found was that the speed limit sign when you get in says 80. Like, that's nice. I stopped and took a picture of that. You don't see an 80-mile-per-hour speed limit very often, so that's why she said I might not come back because she went through it so fast. If you want people to come back, Idaho, slow people down. You let them go by too fast. She said the Craters of the Moon National Monument was pretty cool with those lava fields. Idaho's pretty cool. You go for the potatoes. Next thing you know, you're walking in a lava field and you think you took a wrong turn at Mars. It's a weird place, but I kind of like Boise. And I also like being able to go fast. She said the snow made it feel otherworldly. Idaho is so quiet, you spend enough time there, you just start whispering so you catch the vibe and fit in. She went on to say Idaho has the Basque Block in Boise, also the Basque immigrant culture. You can learn about that when you're there. She said it was beautiful, but she would rather visit Montana or Wyoming. I like some Montana. Montana is pretty sick in that you can just ride down the road, and in most states, like in Arizona, most things are fenced off. They don't want you over there. But I had a four-wheel drive. I just wanted to go see things. So it's easy to find open places in Montana, and you can just turn right and take off. In fact, wildlife will be looking because you could just keep driving. You don't hit, it's just nothing. So you could just keep driving. The road gets further and further away, and you realize all of a sudden I'm on an expedition. It's okay. Hope you got gas. I just kept on driving. It was fun. But like I said, the wildlife standing around, them pronghorn things, all smoking cigarettes going, what's he doing here? I mean, there was a lot of them too. A lot of them. I followed them with the car to take photographs with them. I think finally they just started they just started posing. They were like, oh, this is what y'all do. That's why y'all are always taking selfies. I get it. Now let me shift gears and talk about the Olympics. I absolutely love the Olympics. I love the Winter Olympics because I don't understand them. I grew up in South Carolina. We don't really ski in South Carolina. It's not really our thing. Our ice skating skills suck as well, and we're not really big into hockey. These are things that don't come naturally for us. We have to seek them out. I remember in Michigan, they played it on lakes. Like, we're not doing that here. That's not going to happen in South Carolina. It's sure as hell not going to happen in Phoenix, Arizona. So, as I've watched these stories now, but interestingly enough, a lot of the people that you see in the Olympics, if you're watching it and keeping track of it, are training right here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's amazing how many summer and winter Olympiads train right here. But am I the only one that's noticed that every single story for the Olympics comes with its own documentary attached? I mean, I just tuned in really to see somebody ski downhill at 90 miles per hour. Now, I got to hear about the goldfish that passed in 2008 and how they rallied and made a comeback and used that to feed the story. I mean, I love that. You know, some of them lost their childhood home, one of them lost a shoe, but somehow they find the strength through interpretive dance, of course, to get their mojo back. I'm over here like, yo, I just really wanted to see somebody fall down and slide into the boards. I mean, I'm not heartless. It's not what I am. I just didn't realize that the Olympics turned into America's Got Trauma. I mean, let's face it, every athlete's backstory now sounds like a country song backwards. It's a mess. But then, finally, I feel like things are changing. They're turning and going my way because today, I found a story about some real Olympic drama. Not the inspirational kind, not the one where they go, my coach believed in me. Somehow, I was able to use gravity and become a great downhill skier. Y'all do realize that gravity does most of the work, right? Just throwing that out. Y'all never shout out gravity. You never do, and you probably should. No, this Olympic story is different. This one's got a good old healthy dose of credit card fraud drama baked in. That's what I'm talking about. There's a French biathlete. Her name is Julia Simon. Now, she got convicted of using a teammate's credit card and running up more than $2,000 in charges. Now, I'm not hating. I'm in a glass house. I don't throw stones. And I might be willing to excuse the fact that she accidentally used her teammate's credit card by accident, I'm sure, and accidentally spent $2,000 in charges. But then I went on to find out that she also found her way to use the team's physiotherapist's card for more money. What's happened is she's not just competing, she's running a small side business. That's different. This is the Olympic stuff that I want. This is what I'm here for. This is the drama that nobody wants to talk about because it gets good now because she denied it for 3 years. For 3 years, she was like, that was not me. Sorry. 3 years later, her defense is, okay, listen, I did it. But I don't really remember it. I blacked out when it happened. Is that a legal strategy or did you just use the hangover defense? Like that's gonna fly. Oh, we fast forward to the Olympics. Guess who wins the gold medal? You're right, the criminal. I love this. Guess who finishes in 80th place? The one who got stung for $2,000. The teammate scammed her hard, didn't she? And took her medal too. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's not an Olympic story. That's a Netflix series that needs a writing. That's what I'm talking about. Put that into movies. Quit rehashing the same 5 stories. This is juicy. I like this. All week I've been hearing, this athlete overcame extreme poverty. This biathlete is. Stories of tragedy, poverty, heartbreak, just to win a bronze? Stop. You've already played that song. I've heard it. The Olympics used to be about amateur athletes. Now, Snoop Dogg's doing color commentary, and I gotta tell you, it really does just feel right, doesn't it? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be at this point? Now I don't know how we got through the Olympics without him. All of the dry years, I think we should go back and edit him in. He's really brought a lot to the show for me. Because I'm going to be frank with you, ever since we lost Bob Costas, we've kind of just been floundering around. I like Mike Tirico, but he doesn't offer anything, really. He's just a voice. He doesn't really have a personality. You don't really know if he does. He don't know that he does. His wife probably doesn't know if he does. So he's just kind of wallpaper. He's there. He's very good at what he does. He's the best wallpaper of the bunch. So that's nice. But he's not Bob Costas. At least when we get Snoop, we get something we can enjoy. Because only at the Olympics can you go from a tear-jerking story about skating to Snoop Dogg holding the Olympic torch like it's a lighter. That's good quality television. We're getting somewhere. This is the Olympic story that I want to see Snoop Dogg and NBC cover. This athlete stole her teammate's credit card and won gold. I mean, it is the first Olympic event where the warm-up include checking your bank statement. Thank you, Julia Simon, for making this Olympics real. Where the real biathlon is skiing and identity theft. Most athletes are training for medals. Not her. She's training for cashback rewards and frequent flyer miles. And speaking of frequent flyer miles, I don't have time for that story. I'll get to it tomorrow. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'm at Bud Ford Comedy. We're on Facebook, YouTube. Oh, it's all above my head. I need to remember that's up there. Thanks again for giving it a shot.